because I want him to feel that when he's having those big feelings, he's not processing it alone.
Welcome to Mom Meets World, a podcast talking all things motherhood, friendships, and life. We're your hosts, Alaina Brookmeyer
and Peyton Saraiva. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's dive right in.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Mom Meets World. Really fun episode today. We chatted all things temper tantrums, big feelings, and how to handle those really tough moments where your kid is just unconsolable. We jumped in first, kind of did a little catch up about our weeks. Alaina is solo parenting and get to dive through some other little fun things that has been happening in our personal lives. Have a good little moment for you all. But again, the heart of the episode is what's kind of consuming in toddlerhood is tantrums and big feelings. What did you think about the episode today?
Oh my gosh, I absolutely loved it because it's nice to, number one, just vent and validate each other, but also get tips and tricks because that's a huge part of going through motherhood is just sharing what works and maybe what doesn't work with each other. So loved it as always.
Yay, cool. Well, I'm excited for you guys to hear it. And so we should jump on in.
Let's do it.
Hi. How are ya?
Hi, good. How are you doing? Catch me up on all of things Peyton's life. I'm so out of the loop these days. Fill me in.
Well, clearly, as you just heard with my weird hi, I am so hyper right now. I just had a lot of coffee as we record. It's 8 a.m. here, so I had to get hyped up to your level, but I think I might have surpassed you. So if you have any coffee, girl, I think you need to take a little shot to get on my level.
It's on standby because you gave me the heads up. So I'm like, oh my gosh, let me just go run to my kitchen, grab this little cute espresso cup, pour some iced coffee. So no need to prep. And here I go. Ready?
Obsessed
so anyone
with
who's watching.
Virtual cheers.
Cheers. Get ready to get hyped on this episode. Here we go.
Boop.
Chug, chug, chug.
Chug, girl. You get it. Get it. Woo! You go, girl. Proud of you.
That is mom party life right there.
Absolutely here for it. And thanks for catching up. Take some deep breaths. If I start giving you the shakes or whatever, just let us know and we'll get you something. But how are you doing? What's going on?
Yeah, good. Nothing too exciting other than just, living life as a solo parent with Ben being out of town this week. So we know how that goes. Solo parenting is so hard. And we've talked about this before of how much kudos, unlimited kudos we give for single parents out there because it is no joke. No matter how old the kids are, doing anything on your own, it's just it's hard. So he's usually his work trips last about Monday through Friday kind of situation. So same idea for this. He's in Mexico and then next week he'll be home. Then the next week he's back at a different location in Mexico. So just, hitting the grind here with motherhood. But since we did start Chloe Girl in childcare, that's a huge help. I feel so less overwhelmed and stressed leading into this week. And so that's been really big, even just allowing me to go grocery shopping and maybe a little extra food prep. And obviously just getting my own me time in and that break is huge.
Absolutely.
So that's been good. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad Ben, is kind of tackling it. And as you guys know, Ben works for Lucid, which is an electric car company out there in Arizona. And so he's quite busy and it's awesome. He likes his job. And so I'm so proud that he's able to really take on this new role and I guess it's not necessarily new any longer, but he's just really, really thriving in that position. So I'm happy he's able to do that, but I'm glad that you're able to have some time to food prep. And I mean, as much as that's not really you time, as moms, having that time uninterrupted to get ready for the week is so nice. I'm really glad that you've been able to kind of have a little bit of time to do that and go to the gym. You are looking phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you. I'm feeling actually really good, just physically. And it doesn't mean I've been hitting the gym all day, every day, but I feel I've gotten a really good balance. I feel that 2-year mark after having kiddos, we've talked about this of I feel that's when we start to really feel ourselves again, or at least accepted our new selves and gotten into a routine. And just that's also when our bodies, I feel have, not bounced back because we hate that word and that phrase of just you're never going to be who you were before in every aspect and in every way, but you do get to kind of like recover from getting beat up from newborn to, 2 years. So anyways, I feel like I'm at that stage and I'm embracing it and I just feel really good. And I think the mental health aspect has been helping too. Like I still battle like ADHD, OCD, and just like other stuff like, childhood trauma and all that good stuff. But it's just like, I feel like I've gotten my time with, childcare being a thing, been like just being extra supportive lately and just all those things add up. And yeah, so I'm feeling good and healthy.
Good.
But what about you? I know you're battling some sicknesses right now.
Oof. Yeah. So things have been good around here. But currently I am going through this and I'm just giving full disclosure. I am not 100% certain what it is, but last Thursday, so maybe about a week ago now, I started to feel like I had a sunburn in my mouth, which again sounds crazy, but like my whole mouth was just like burning. My lips were swollen from the inside. My
Ouch.
whole part of my mouth was like on fire, burning. And anytime I would eat, I would just have this intense like shooting pains, like burning. So I was like having a really hard time eating, got through the weekend, went out to all these incredible meals with my family because my parents are still in town.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I would eat something or I would drink something, my mouth would just burn. So I would just find myself not eating as much and feeling really uncomfortable. Or like literally we were out to dinner in Birmingham on Saturday and my eyes are just like tearing down my face because it was like a spicy pizza and so anything acidic, all the stuff. So I get to the Monday and I'm like, it's not better. I need to just go find a pharmacist or like a doctor and figure out what it is. And went in and they outruled. They said it's obviously not herpes. It's not thrush, which is like if you take too many inhaler puffs, your mouth gets really dry and it kind of can create like a weird mini ecosystem in your mouth, like in your mouth, I guess, but it's not that because I haven't used my inhaler. It's not, a few other things that they were suggesting. It's not, it kind of feels like 1,000 canker sores in your mouth, but it's not, I don't have any like open wounds. So I don't know what
I'm
it is.
I'm very familiar with canker sores, unfortunately. Like I literally have a prescription to take if I feel one coming on because I'm like prone to them and it's definitely a thing. So, oh my God, they're so painful. And especially if they're in the back of your throat. I always think I have a sore throat. So anyway, side note. So I feel you. I can only imagine. Ugh.
Yeah. So it feels like I've got them everywhere. And so, anyways, we ruled it out. She goes, why don't we just put you on this like medication? Let's give it 7 days. If it doesn't change, then let's go and, we'll dive deeper. And she did like a mouth swab. It wasn't strep. So again, I don't have an actual diagnosis what it was, but she did rule out all these other like big scary, like it's not cold sores, it's not contagious, all these things. So anyways, I'm on a medication. Hopefully it's going to get better. I've noticed I'm probably about 30% pain now. So that's good. But I've got these now, like the cuts are going on the outside of my mouth. And so now my lips are all like, ugh, yuck. So
poor thing.
That's been kind of funny, but yeah, mom and dad are still here and it's been good. They're really in their groove now. They're understanding kind of our flow down here. I've been working a lot more, which is good. And now, so I think it's quite funny when I don't know how this works, but I have now daycare and I have 3 days daycare, home daycare, and now I've got both options in town for daycare. And so like I now have the option of 5 days a week daycare, which is like epic. And it's funny how we were literally just chatting about childcare and how hard it is to get in down here. But now the spots have opened up and I've gotten in. So now I just need to find either a full-time job or find a way to like look at our family budget and see how many days a week I need to work in order for our family to continue on with our family and personal goals of savings and business starting and all those sorts of things. So that's exciting, but my big personal takeaway for my little family is like, I've been really wanting Cooper to get into our, the Damini daycare, which is where all my friends' kids go to. And I just got the call on Monday that Cooper got into that on Thursday, Fridays, which is he'll be in the Little Wallabies class, which is where all my friends' kids go. So I think that'll be a big developmental push for Cooper to keep going and thriving. And he's with his friends and it's a big step for him, but it's also a big step for me. But I really do want him to get in there. So that's huge in our little world. And
Yay.
I still... As this episode comes out, mom and dad will be here another week and a few days. So it's just enjoying every second. I don't want to start thinking about their departure. So I'm not, but we're just enjoying every second as we're recording.
Yay, I love it. Yes, and you have like all the help in all different aspects, like obviously family and then obviously all these like childcare options. I feel like we fully manifested that with that episode a couple ago. So that's awesome. Yay, so
Yes.
excited for you.
Thanks. So I've got a job interview tomorrow, and I've got a couple other things on the back burner that I'm looking at, just continuing to push myself and furthering that, and hopefully I can find something that works in all avenues.
Yes, I feel like we should do an episode about like either job hunting or having a job and like being a working mom, and then that'll manifest. Then you'll get job offers, then you'll be working that next episode.
Oh gosh, yes. Well, thank you guys for being along the ride as our lives have changed and go ups and downs of like different hurdles and like celebrating as we get over those, and being around when we're like having a little complaint about something, but that's just part of life, and I'm happy to be able to share all that stuff with you.
We're here for the ups and downs, all of it.
Yes. So speaking of, as like we're recording, everyone's got their phones right next to them. You're either listening on your phone or you're walking on your, out on a walk or in the car, and everyone has their phones around. Do you have any phone tips or moments that you'd like to recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I have a really go-to, like that's just been on my phone. You know how they, what is it called? The pop sockets? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So I have something similar because I kind of wanted something more like a stand situation. So it's a cute name. It's called Love Handle.
Yeah.
I'm showing it like on my screen if anyone else wants to take a peek. So it can prop up like this. You can prop it out like that, like a little kickstand. And then if you just have it flat against your phone, it has a silicone like thing that goes out, so you can just tuck your fingers in there so you don't get that little carpal tunnel action. So anyways, yeah, I like this as an option compared to the pop sockets.
I really like that.
Yeah, it goes with my purple phone and everything, my iPhone. I'm an Apple girl, so that's my moment and my go-to little product. And it helps too, even like if we're on the plane and I'm watching a movie on my phone, my little itty bitty phone, I can just prop it up and stuff like that. So comes in handy. What about you?
Yeah, so mine's kind of similar, but mine is a snap-on invisible like iPod or like a tripod. So it kind of goes on the back of your phone, similar to yours in a sense, but it's the size of a credit card and it pops on the back of your phone. And then if you turn your phone to the side, it kind of helps, it creates like into a tripod. So as we're trying to create content or you're out and about and you don't want to get out your big tripod or even like the small one that you can stick in your purse, this is on the back of your phone. And you just like set it up, and so you can have it vertical, horizontal, and you can kind of adjust the settings, but then it folds back up to do like almost flush with the back of your phone. So it's called the Snap Invisible Phone Tripod, and I have mine in the color of Seafoam. So check it out. I'll link it in the show notes, but it's really helpful if you're like wanting to grab some content or you're somewhere and you don't really want to like prop it on the back of a book or on the back of, I don't know, a pole. It can kind of help it out.
I feel that because like mine is good in certain aspects, but with propping up to a certain angle, there's only that one way with the kickstand. So it's just like, it's not always ideal. So I'm going to look into yours. That sounds awesome.
And it's only $39.
I don't think I've ever,
so.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. I don't think I've ever noticed it. Is it new for you?
Yeah, it's new. It's new.
Okay. Sweet.
Yes.
Awesome.
So yes. So, okay. Right now I have to just tell you, we are in a mix of, we are on 6 weeks of having guests at our house. And so Toddler tantrums have really elevated in our house. And I think this is kind of leading into like why I want to talk about tantrums and like the 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and like how we handle with big feelings, big emotions, but also like what to do in those situations, how to like, mute the noise in the background, which is other people, the judgment you feel projecting onto you, where you're at in life, but also all these other things. I think it's a really important topic to touch on. And you and I are still so new with this because obviously it's baby number 1, but in the same note, we are in the thick of it with 2, 3 almost. So I want to talk with you, have a conversation about like what this looks like and also how we handle it and any advice that we can give, but also any advice that you could give to me and I'll give to you. And let's get through this together.
Oh my gosh, the toddler stage and tantrums are no joke. And especially like, I know all kids are different, but if you have a kid with a big personality with really big feelings and oh my gosh, it's a lot. And I've expressed on here and you've seen Chloe, like she's got that. She's got the personality, she's got the voice, literally the high pitch and everything, whether she's having fun and screaming or it's that tantrum when it's like extra nails on the chalkboard for especially like when you're the specific mom yourself
Yeah.
listening to your own kid. So
Yes.
it is very wearing, even just the anticipation of it, even like the prevention. I feel like that's literally my daily life of just preventing her having a tantrum. And it's like really wearing, you know, and like there are so many times where we're chilling and we're enjoying each other, but there's also a lot of times where I'm like, oh my gosh, shoot, I just cut her banana the wrong way. Oh my God, what do I do? You know, because I'm like, that's her last banana and she's going to freak out and like whatever. So I think it's just like, you know, rolling with the punches and figuring out what works, you know, for you and your family and like how you survive. And like, for me, I think a big part is the reality checks of like, okay, what's priority here? Like, what's important? She's safe. I'm safe. Is this actually a big deal? No. Is this her just feeling things and wanting to be in control or whatever it is? Most likely. So it's just like giving myself the reality check and like really grounding myself in the situation, but easier said than done, as we know. And like something that's being brought up a lot more recently is that, and I don't know if this happens for you, and I feel like this happens for probably a lot of other families, but for Chloe, she is like an angel kiddo with other people, even with Dada hanging out with her grandparents, with my friend watching her at school, anywhere else that I'm not there, she is great. But as soon as I walk into the room or like to pick her up or anything like that, she is a different kid. And so that's what I'm told a lot of the times. Like even at school the other day, I came to pick her up. Right when she saw me, she started climbing on their little art table. And they're like, Chloe, what are you doing? You've never done that before. I'm like, it's because I'm here. So it's really interesting. And I don't know if it's because of how I am with her or what it is, but I have another mama friend actually. And we should actually have her on here because I love her. She always like has such good insights, and she has 2 kiddos herself. But I'm going to chat more with her because her and I get together and she watches Chloe a lot of the times with her 2 kids. And she's saying the same thing. As soon as I come into the picture to pick up Chloe, she's a little bit more rambunctious. She's just very different than how she is when she's just alone with other people. So it's really interesting. So anyways, yeah, that mama friend is like, I would love to chat more if you're open to it about like, you know, things that I found that have worked for my now 4-year-old. And like we're getting closer to the other side of that kind of behavior and tantrums. So I will definitely like clue you in and everyone else of what I learned from this other mama friend, Anna. So love her. So yeah, that's kind of been my general recent experience. Very long-winded. But what about you? What's been happening on your end these days?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want you to know you're doing the best you can with Chloe, and she does have a big personality,
Yes.
and you never want to like put out your kid's flame, and that's something that like I've been really like digging a lot on, like how to make sure my kid can be who he is without like putting down his flame or like you know telling him to like get into these boxes, because you know at this age, and I've done a lot of research, and we're really into the Montessori style parenting a lot, and kind of not, I wouldn't necessarily say gentle parenting, but in the same note trying to like understand where he's coming from, and it's a lot easier said than done. And one of the biggest things that's been working in my household is we have a tag in and tag out thing. So, and essentially what happens is if Cooper's having a big moment or if something's just not working and I'm feeling like that I'm spent for the day, Chase and I will do a tag out. I'll just be like, I need a minute. And he'll go in, take over or whatever. Or like, I'll say, I'm going to be good cop, you be bad cop tonight, or vice versa. So if I'm feeling like I've got a lot of patience, I'm going to want to stick it out and I want to stick true to what I'm saying, I'm going to be the good cop that night, and Chase can be the bad cop getting in with a little bit more tone or whatever, if that makes sense. So, I think it's been a little tricky with my parents in town, with my sisters-in-law in town, and my mother-in-law. And then Sep and Britt. So we've had back to back groups of people here, out of routine, out of, that normal setting. And so I do find that like when it is me around, he's acting a little bit more naughty or like pushing my boundaries, because I think he's afraid that I'm not going to discipline him, or I'm not going to like enforce my boundaries when other people are around. And I would say like the first week mom and dad were here, I was definitely more a little bit like, come on, Cooper, just do what you normally do kind of thing. But now I'm like, nope, this is our routine. They're here a month, so I need to stick through, because a month in the scheme of a 2-year-old's life is, that's a lot. So I just want to make sure that we don't degress in these big moments. But like for us, what a tantrum looks like is he just is like kicking and screaming firm, and he is unconsolable crying. But something that I am very proud of myself for doing is no matter what's happening, I will sit in the room with him and I'll sit on the floor and I'll let him scream and I will let him kick and cry. And most of the time he doesn't want to be touched. But every single time after that length of crying, unconsolable, he'll say mama, and he'll kind of like want me, and he'll reach for me, and then I'll hold him and we'll do deep breaths together and I'll rub his back. And I had to just find myself channeling somewhere else, or like try to remove myself mentally from the situation and just sit there in the room, because I want him to feel that when he's having those big feelings, he's not processing it alone. I don't want him to think that, he's ever alone in those moments, or that those big feelings are, not okay. In most settings, like he just can't figure out how to regulate himself. And I want him to know that he's never alone in those big feelings. I am there, even if it's killing me to have him screaming like that. And, of course, instinctually you want to grab him and pull him in. But in those moments, he doesn't want to be touched. He just wants to lay there and scream and kick. And so what I do is I just sit there on the floor in his room with him and I let him cry it out until he looks at me and goes, mama. And then he'll reach for me and then we'll calm down together and we'll kind of debrief on it. And there's been 2 times now where we've been in public where that's happened. And I look crazy. I sit there on the floor at the park and he's screaming, crying. And my instinctual reaction is to get in the car, buckle him in and go. But in the same note, like I'm trying my best to do what's right, calm him down. And I'm finding that we become closer after that. We recap after that and he gets better. With that being said, there are situations where I've had to make the call where it's from an outside perspective, it looks like I'm hurting him, or it looks like I am being aggressive. And the example is Cooper had car sick driving up to Sydney. We pulled over to the side of the road. He threw up and he did not want to get back in the car seat. And he was kicking and screaming, didn't want to get back in the car seat. But we were on the side of a hill, like a big mountain range, with my sisters-in-law in the car and Chase in the front seat. And I needed to get my family into a safe spot. I needed to get them safe. I knew that technically he was fine. He had thrown up. We cleaned him. It had been 15 minutes, but I needed to get my family safe. So I had to forcefully put him in the car seat, buckle him up. And it felt like shit, to be honest, forcing him into the seat, buckling him as he's kicking, screaming. My sisters-in-law are sitting right next to him in our teeny car. But I'm like, we have to drive 3 miles and we'll get to the park and I will be able to get you. And then you can get out and relax and calm down and we can do all this safe, gentle parenting that I'm really enforcing. But my job as a parent is to also keep you and my family safe. And that is like the sole job. So he screamed. I followed through with my word. We got to that spot. I got him out of the car. He was able to do what he needed to do. Next time he got in the car, he understood, Mommy, we're safe. Let's get in the car. And we moved on. But I think the judgment call has to be there for you and the family. And you have to know that you're never hurting your kid. I don't condone spanking. That's not my parenting style. I don't condone smacking or grabbing aggressively or whatever. But in the same note, like, I just know that everything we're doing as parents, we're trying to keep them safe. We're trying to figuring it out. And they're also trying to figure it out. So you have to do, in those moments, I have to keep you safe. I know you're safe in your room. So crying for 30 minutes, you're going to be okay. You're not, there's nothing in here that could hurt you. I'm in the room with you. Yes, it hurts your heart. And yes, you're like shit to the neighbors here, but also knowing that like you are doing the best you can to sort it out. And it is what it is. You have to just postpone those plans, or what, some people are in the room waiting for you to have dinner, but if your kid's having a moment, you need to remember you're a mom first. Everyone else can wait, if that makes sense. And that's something that I'm proud of myself for sticking throughout having all these guests here. I'm not going to tell my kid to like quiet down just because I have guests in the house. They're guests in our house, and Cooper is a member of my household, if that makes sense.
They're in his house, like he runs the show, as we all know. Like that's how it is. And it's all like you're doing so good with all your change of routine, because that's like big time triggering for these kiddos, because they're so into routines. And like, I know you guys aren't super strict with it, right? Each day looks a little different, and that's fine. You do have wiggle room and flexibility in certain places, but it's just like the fact that like, different guests at different times, and then to say hi and then bye at a certain point, and like those long road trips, like that's huge rock in his world, his routine. So I think that's like, you're showing a lot of strength going through all of that and managing it and like in the moment, because I'm sure it looks a little different each day with his behavior and his attitude towards different things. So you're killing it. Don't you worry.
Thanks. I think we're all just trying the best we can, bottom line,
Yes. That's what it's all about. And it's all circumstantial, kind of like what you said, right? Like maybe you have the safe space to do what you need to do in the house, or like if you're out and about and like, okay, dude, we got to get in the car now. We're not just going to be on the side of the road.
No.
Like, I can't remember if I shared when we got home, when I did my solo trip with Chloe in December, and then we got back home to Phoenix and Ben picked us up. It was late, so she was like overtired and she hardly napped that day, I remember. So anyways, like trying to get her in the car to go home, she was like possessed. No one was home. She was just screaming, and she's very strong. Like
Yep.
this little being that's like hardly 25 pounds is like, oh my God, this force of nature. So I'm like trying to pin her down, this screaming child, and everyone's staring at us at the airport, like waiting to get picked up. And I'm like, just trying to pin down and buckle in my screaming demon child. And I'm like, dude, you gotta chill. So anyways, like we just let her scream the whole time home. But like my kind of like tactics are to use logic, because I'm like, Chloe, listen, just for 1 second. If you just take a big breath, right? And then look, if we just listen to your song on the way home, we get home, go night-night, and then you're going to feel so much better. You know, so I kind of break it down. Does that resonate with her? Not all the time. Does she listen?
Yep.
No. But that's what I do my best to kind of like have something click in her head of like, okay, there is an end to this. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's not just this or that that's happening, and she kind of gets stuck on what she can't have or can't do.
Mhm.
So, and like, you know, a lot of people are like, have you ever just tried ignoring her and not giving into what she's like, or she's demanding my attention? Do you ever just like kind of keep doing what you need to do? Like keep cooking dinner and not tend to her screaming at you? And trust me, I've tried, not
We all
prolonged times,
try.
but like, yeah. And I'm like, this girl
It's
is like
so
literally
hard.
tugging at my pants. She's going to pants me while I'm cooking dinner. Like she's very, very
Persistent.
strong-willed.
Yeah.
Very much so. And so she's also got tunnel vision. I think just kids are like this, or she just won't give up until she gets what she needs or whatever. And, you know, I don't always give in, especially knowing that this age, specific like 2 leading into 3, is when they really try to test their boundaries and their limits. So I know that's what she's doing. She doesn't really know that she's doing that, but like that's what's happening. So I try so hard not to give in, or I'll find a compromise. Like, okay, let's make a deal. Like you can have
We do deals.
this, a little bit of this, but not the whole thing, or you know. So we do our best, and I kind of like your guys's you know, tactics of doing the tapping each other out of like when you need help. And Ben and I do that in a sense of less so asking, sometimes asking, like, especially if we deep down like really need it and we see that the other person's not really acknowledging it. But a lot of the times we're so in tune of what's going on in the next room or right next to us that we will, you know, be like, hey, let me handle this, or like do what we can. And a lot of the times, like what I was saying, like Chloe's pretty much a mama's girl, especially if Ben's around, and he takes it personally a lot of times, which he knows he doesn't need to, but you know, it's
instinctual.
Yeah. I'm like, babe, I wish you could help her more. I want that, trust me. But she's just like, it's just a mama thing. So sometimes like if I am kind of quote unquote forced to like be with her and kind of calm her down or do whatever is happening, he can help in other ways. Like let's say we're trying to get ready for going to bed and she's all riled up, and I'll kind of be with her specifically, but Ben will maybe be prepping her room for her pajamas and getting out her pull-ups and stuff like that. So I think there's ways to like complement each other in the family, and you know, still help in different ways if the kiddo won't let you directly help them or the other partner. So, but it's hard in those instances. I feel bad.
It's so hard.
I wish like Ben didn't take it personally, but it just is what it is, and it hurts my heart. But yeah, I'm sure she's gonna be such a daddy's girl when she gets older, though. So I'm just predicting that right now.
Yeah. Something that I'm currently battling is Cooper's fighting his naps, and so it's specifically when I'm the one putting him down. And it's funny because like this past week we had an issue where he wouldn't go down for me, but then the next day mom put him down right away, and then Chase put him down the next day for a nap because I was working, and then the following day he went to daycare, 2.5 hour nap. So I know he needs a nap. When I'm home, he he just pushes it. And I gave in on Sunday, and it was a whole thing, and I'll share about it sometime soon. Just so it was a whole thing, and ended up having to give in. And it was just hour and a half of fighting the snap, and I just was like, this is wasting my energy, wasting his energy and time. And we were wasting so much like space, just spending time in his room, and then him coming out and me getting frustrated that I was like, the hour and a half I just spent trying to get him down, we could have done something like relaxing books, or we could have been doing other things. And I typically get really caught up in the routine of what we need to do. And I'm like, okay, well, I foresee we're going to the golf club for dinner, and I know you're going to go run with the kids. And I go, if you don't, if you don't take a nap, we're not going to go. And it's really hard to like follow through on those guarantees. And there's been a time recently where I was at the park with a friend, and she said to me, we're having a really hard morning. If so-and-so throws sand one more time, we will be leaving. And it's nothing against you and I, but I need to enforce this parent boundary. And I was like, rightio, I get what you're saying. And sure enough, her son threw the sand again at me. And she packed up, left. I said nothing to make her feel bad. As friends, we support friends. It's not like, oh, I want to see you. It's like, all right, cool, I'll see you tomorrow. I also really respect her parenting style. And she had already prefaced the, sorry, Alaina has a really cute dog named Cabo. And once in a while, I either hear him snoring, or I'll hear him do like a little shake. And I think I just heard him do a little ear shake, and I just had to giggle. So
he gets he gets FOMO, fear of missing out. So he has to make little noises here and there. He's a pit bull, so he's just a noisy doggy.
He's so cute.
But he's snoozing now.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I just in that moment I should have just said, all right, fine. Well, I did. After about an hour and a half of trying for the nap, I said, right, let's just do some quiet time exercise. And I think at the end of the day, the reason why we don't want these naps is so we can all have our own time. And I think he could have just thrived in his room and read his own books and would have been just fine. But I was forcing the nap so hard that it just caused a lot more stress in the household, which took away from the point of wanting that time anyway. So I think
I feel like they feed off of our stress too sometimes, of like the pressure to be on time to do something. And I'm really bad about that too, but I try so hard, kind of like you and that example of like, okay, if you don't do this, then we can't do this later. And that's just, but they don't always, care. That doesn't always sink in for them. Yeah, they don't care, or they don't fully understand.
Okay, Mama.
They're like, watch this. I bet you're lying. Like, I'm going to call your bluff right now. So yeah, we do that a lot.
Or I was like, if you don't go, we're not going to go to the club with Jesse, Rennie, Fallon, and Brooks. And he goes, bye-bye, Fallon, Brooksy. And I was like, okay, that's not the reaction I was wanting. And I was like, I guess we're not going to go to Jesse's house. No, Jesse's house, Mama. And I was like, all right, that tactic's not working. And I was like, I even pretended, which is, I don't condone lying to your kids. Don't come for me in the comments. But I even pretended to get on my phone. I was like, hi, Ellie, it's me. Yeah, we're not coming to the club today because Cooper won't take a nap. And Cooper goes, no nap, Mama. And I was like, gosh, darn it.
Dang it. And I read something. I follow this one account. Gosh, what are they called? But I rely heavily on them whenever I see them on my news feed of like, they do these little posts of like, okay, this is what 2-year-olds are going through of like, testing boundaries, blah, blah, blah. And so I saw one that popped up of like, those kiddos actually believe what they overhear. So if I'm talking to Chloe Stuffy of like, all right, monkey, time for night-night. I know you're really sleepy now, huh? So I'm going to put you to bed. And then Chloe's like, no, I want to go to bed. And I'm like, oh, you want to go to bed with monkey? And she's like, yeah, don't put monkey to bed without me. And I'm like, oh, okay, sounds good.
Reverse psychology. I love it.
And then Cooper's like, bye, no nap.
And then again, I tried to do the opposite. I'll go, oh, how good would a nap be? So trying to pump up a nap. Oh, Cooper is going to go to a nap. And when he's done with his nap, we'll go then and try again. Then I try to pivot it and try to be all positive about it. But I think bottom line, I think of this conversation is I do think 2 and 3-year-olds don't have a lot of logic in what's happening. That's what's developing now in their brain. That's the core.
It's so frustrating.
It's the little core part of their brain that's really developing. It's like understanding logic, understanding boundaries, knowing that they're safe. And then again, I think truthfully what it is they're most comfortable with you and I. Your kid's most comfortable with whoever that dominant parent is, whether that's a grandparent that's with them all day long, whether that's the daddy or the mommy or whatever that looks like in the household. The solo parent that's there with them day in and day out, they trust the most. And so those are the parents that have a lot of that weight on their shoulder. That mental load is the highest. And those are the parents that are going to have a lot of the flack that no one else sees, the extra push. But those are the relationships that your kids rely on to build those backbones of their brain, those core memories. So we're putting in the work now. Those foundations that we're building now are going to be for the rest of their lives. Like, okay, I know mom's always there for me, or I know I can push mom, but she's always there. And like in a lot of ways, we're putting in some really good work. And I know it's hard, but we're doing the right things. And just remember, you guys are got this. And our mom community here is strong. And if you ever need a hand, like slide into our DMs or send us a message, or I'll just be like, God, I can just need a hand right now. Help me with something.
Yes. We're
Deep
all in it
breaths all
together.
around. Yes.
I'm sure like as people are listening to this, whether you're a mom or not, maybe you've witnessed this especially too, of just like you're nodding your head along to all of this, like, oh my gosh, yes. Or like, hopefully we're also helpful in like sharing some tips and tricks of like, you know, what maybe works for us or what we do in our household. So I hope that like we help with just a little bit, whether you feel just validated or you're actually going to try out something that we suggest or list. So yeah, like and I don't know what kind of helps you with this specific situation, because this is something that I'll be talking with my other mama friend, Anna, about, of like, because she texted me after we left her house the other day of like, okay, I see I see your kind of pent up frustration each time you try to leave our house with Chloe. And that's a big part for me of like, even getting Chloe, the transition of location or like doing something. So getting Chloe to leave somewhere or like for us to leave the house is really hard. And like, she won't necessarily do a full on tantrum, but she'll like really dilly dally. And like, I'll say, okay, let's do this. And she'll say, no, mama, no. And then she'll just like really just goof off and just be a little butthead to me and just really postpone things, kind of like your nap situation of just like really pushing it off and just like doing everything but, you know, what we're needing them to do. So like, do you have any suggestions, especially with that, of like transition time of going from this to that, especially like leaving locations? That's been a huge thing for me.
Yeah, so typically I would say locations for us are easier, but Cooper is now a homebody. And it's something where like we'll get out of the house happily and we'll be out and about, but then he'll just be like, okay, mama, let's go home. And so like, I like that, but it also is a different level of frustration because we put all this work in and effort and planning to go out and do these big special days for our kids. Or we go, you know, we're at a park 45 minutes away, and then it's like he just wants to go home. And I go, well, what do you like about home? And he said safe. And he goes, I like my room and I like my toys or my snacks or whatever it is. And so that is something that's kind of a contrary to you as far as like physical location or transition, but in the same note, it's still something where like your kid is having a hard time going to that next thing, or it's like kind of, you know, like he wants to go home and I have to kind of convince him, okay, we'll stay here for X amount more time. And so I really do the thing where I'm like, okay, 5 more minutes and then we'll go, or 5 minutes of reading books and then it's time for a sleep. Or we cut his pacifier. I've told you guys that, but now his new thing is he wants to go look at the Christmas lights before bed. So anytime he's needing that sense of comfort, he'll come out and go, Christmas lights? And our neighbors haven't taken down their lights yet. So in theory, it's really cute. We go outside on because we have like a little balcony in our bedroom, and he'll go out and we'll look at the lights and it's cute in theory. But after the 7th time of going out and looking at the Christmas lights, we're like, okay, no more Christmas lights. This is time for bed. And I'm having that like balance of like, why do you need to do this? Why do we need to look at lights again? Why are you postponing? Why are you pushing that bedtime? Why are you not getting in the car? What is wrong with that? Is something uncomfortable? Yes. And like trying to figure it out. But again, I think they're just pushing the limits, and I'm finding bedtime used to be 15 minutes and now it's an hour for bedtime. And it's something that's like taxing on Chase and I. And like for you getting in the car, like we had to be at daycare at 9 o'clock, 8:45, you guys would typically leave, but we're not getting in the car, so we're running late. And you're going, we're late, Chloe, we're late. We have to be there. But kids don't understand the term of late. They don't understand that consequence of mom getting a talk by the teacher saying, hey, you guys need to be here at 9. This is what time routine starts. We do morning tea at 9:05 or whatever that looks like for your classroom. And I am giving hypotheticals and timing, and there's no trouble, right? Like mornings are long and tough. But just remembering kids don't understand what that consequence looks like, or like, why do we need to leave? And so I try to like sit down and give options of like, okay, 5 minutes or 2 minutes, or when we get in the car, do you want to hold a toy, or what do you want to listen to? So I'm trying to do those different little small things of giving him some sort of power in the decisions that we're doing. So it doesn't look like I'm just dictating his day, because I do find when I explain a bit more of what we're doing or why we're doing it, we're giving him the full picture of the day. When we wake up today, we're going to do this, that, and the other. Or when you wake up from your nap, we're going to go do this, and then this for dinner, and then tomorrow we're going to do this. At least he feels some sort of control or understanding. And I'm proud of Chase and I. We don't do a lot of fibbing. We don't say, I promise when you wake up, we're going to go to the park. And then when he wakes up and he asks, we go, no park. Like, we do follow through. And I want to just keep building that trust with him. So those,
especially now that they remember.
Oh, they remember, don't you?
There was the point, like when they were younger, oh gosh, when did it take a turn? But she's got a good memory now of like, she'll wake up right when she opens the door, school today, or, oh, we're going to the gym like you told me last night when we were going to bed. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So
at least she holds you accountable for the gym.
Oh, big time. But she gets to watch her movies at the gym. That's why she loves it so much, that silly girl. But yeah, I think like, kind of giving her something to look forward to in the future, or like, to go to, will help with that transition situation of Agreed. Like, even like, okay, what song do you want to listen to in the car? Oh, do you want your Go-Gurt in the car? I have your Go-Gurt. Let's eat it in the car. Come on, girl. I'm trying not to fatten her up with all these sugars and like make her all hyped up before bed either. But I'm like, if it's food that's going to motivate her a little bit, let's do it if it comes down to it. So, and that's where I start to have my own mama tantrum, because we're humans too. And like, we lose some control every now and then. And like, gentle parenting is work. It is work. It's not just because like, oh, you're trying to be lazy and chill. Like, no, it's a lot of work. So, I do my best to do gentle parenting, but I also like, I lose it a little bit on her, especially when it has to do with time. That's why I'm very like, I want to practice more of what's going to work for us with the transition of location, because if we're going to school or somewhere where we actually have to be on time somewhere, that's where I kind of like lose my temper a little bit. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, let's not have mama get frustrated and yell. I really need your help doing this. And I'll even kind of preface it maybe the night before of like, okay, remember, Chloe, we have school tomorrow. I really need your help getting ready on time. And when mama says it's time to go, I really need your help getting your shoes and jacket and go potty or whatever. So I think that's helping a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, this age is tough.
It's tough. And I'm glad. I'm so thankful to have you. And I have some really good friends down here in Narooma, like that have kids similar ages. So if I'm going, holy shit, like this is hard. I've got a friend who's ahead of me by a year. And then I've got another friend who's about 8 months behind me. And so she'll ask me questions. I'll ask Ellie questions. And we kind of like, and that's what this is all about, is that mama tribe. It takes a village. And there's certain times where other moms can teach your kid a moment, or like we're out and about and Cooper's acting up and Ellie will come over and squat down to Cooper's level and explain something, and he instantly changes. And again, it's just, he trusts us, but sometimes taking help from other parents, do it. Let someone else help you. Don't have your guard up. I mean, obviously find parents you trust and their parenting style or whatever. And like, don't change who, like exactly your morals and values for somebody else. But if someone else is willing to step in and help in that moment, or if that mama friend of yours, Anna, can help Chloe get in the car and it works for her, and she's like, let me try, and she gets Chloe in the car, and then you guys kind of change that routine and that works for you, like, more power to you.
Wait, now I'm envisioning me just parking her car in her driveway, me disappearing and hiding, and then Anna brings Chloe to the car, be like, oh look, here's mama's car, let me just get you strapped in the car seat, and then all of a sudden I appear, get in the driver's seat. Get in the car. Down the street. I love that idea.
You know what? Perfect. Look, if it works, it works.
Well, yeah. Yes. Yeah. So like, speaking of all that and like taking advantage of mama friends and all of that, and that's actually the setup that I have with Anna of like, wanting more flexibility, or like she actually reached out to me about like my training services. So that kind of leads us into our friend tips, our segment of like giving tips, advice, little tips and tricks of like different random things. So this week we're kind of chatting about like, if you want more freedom or flexibility to do certain things, whether that's have your own time, but you can't afford a babysitter, or maybe you want training or a haircut or whatever it is, like certain services, but you're tight on your budget. Like, you and I were just chatting, Peyton, of like how sometimes we do trades, right? So like, okay, let me trade my babysitting services because I'm so good with kids. Come play with my kiddo and you can go have your you time, or like, do a trade for a haircut. Maybe your hairstylist has kids. Be like, I would love to babysit your kids. So
you cut my hair
have you been able to do anything of that sort like recently?
Well, two things come to mind. One, quick. Our neighbor just had a new baby. We're not super close, so I didn't know kind of their style, their aesthetics or whatever, but I thought something nice to do is I made them a meal. And so I made a big lasagna meal and I got them some bread and I brought that over. And it's not necessarily a trade, but I thought that was like a nice way to like show that I care about their new baby and share it and like care about them as people, but also like I didn't financially know what they wanted as a gift, which I mean, I could tell you 45 things to get them diapers, all these things. So I know this is a mom podcast. So technically I do know some things, but also as a new mom, I would have loved to have some food when I had a new baby. And the other thing that directly comes to mind is just like, again, that friend trades. We have some friends that gave us a physical gift for Christmas, but instead of just kind of like going, oh, I see you got me that. Let me just quickly throw you together a package. Something that she had voiced to me in the past was like that she was craving some one-on-one time with her husband. So we got them a gift voucher to a restaurant a little bit further away from our little town, which means it's kind of like a push for them to go out for the dinner. We said that we were going to watch their daughter, Alaina, and that we would drive them to dinner and pick them up. So it's like kind of an all-around night. They have a babysitter. They have a chauffeur because that means they don't have to be, they both can have a couple glasses of wine or a couple beers. And then they also have some safety knowing that their kid is watched. So like
That's
kind
so
of a win-win.
smart.
It only costs us, $50 or whatever it was for that gift card. But the time with their daughter is invaluable. And also like that chauffeur service or that driving for them is nice. So overall, like we gave them that whole day night out as just like hey, like I care for you. And we did think about the gift more so than just like running to the store, grabbing a couple little quick things because they had gifted us something, but we had put thought into that one as well. So
Yeah,
I
because
do
there's so
think
many
the trade is
logistics
good.
that go into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love the trade that I have with my friend Anna of like, okay, I do a training session with her at the gym. And while we're at the gym, as we all know, like that's where the kiddos can have some childcare too. So her and I get our friend time, of course, but I also still get to train her. And then she picks up Chloe and takes her with her other two kiddos back to her house for a couple of hours. And that's the trade. And we're on to every other week now, I think. Of just trying to keep that consistent. And I love it. And in the past, it doesn't have to be like, let's say you're listening and you're not a mom yourself, but like I've offered my training services in trade of a haircut for my hairstylist. And I'm like, I would love to like do a little training for you. And then, I get my haircut for free. And so just little things like that, like think outside of the box and like, you don't have to feel too awkward about like suggest it and maybe they say no or like let me think about it and that's totally cool. But it's like especially if you're if you're pinching pennies, like it's so smart and like a lot of people don't really think of that. So yeah,
I love it.
Putting that out there. Yeah.
Oh, this is great. I love chatting with you and thanks for being my rock throughout these tantrums in the past few weeks of
Always
just change the routine and life. So I love doing this with you and thank you.
Yes, right back at you. I know that's what we're here for through all the ups and downs, all the tantrums.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us on this week's episode, and hopefully we will see you guys next week.
All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Mom Meets World. If you enjoyed listening, please give us a like, subscribe, and find us on Instagram at Mom Meets World Pod.
Because sometimes you just need another mom to remind you that you're getting it right more than you're getting it wrong. See you next time.